Good morning, Wellington. It's an absolute pleasure to be here today. Back in the day, it was all about, the introduction of TV in black and white, and then the introduction of, the internet. And through that time, you can just sort of get this feeling, this sense of pace taking off and it becoming just faster and faster and faster and harder and harder and harder to get your head around it. And there was this view that millennials are like backpackers and students with no money. Well, the reality is that over half of them are actually earning above $80,000 now, and average age is 33. And by 2025, they're going to represent 75% of our workforce. So these are the holders of consumer spending in New Zealand. And actually one of the myths too is around age of online. The over 56s are the fastest growing online audience for games. We might say, well, look, we've got a pretty good service. We're in the hospitality business. We do a great job. But actually, we're being compared to how people experience other services. So seamless, frictionless service in an Uber ride or in a Disney theme park is now the expectation on us. So whilst I wanted to get into real flash, amazing, big stuff, which was all new entertainment, our customers said, earn the right by delivering utility first. Solve the pain points first. Investing as little as possible, so running a lean prototype through minimum viable product approach, and at every point checking in on that customer commercial and capability piece. And architecting for composable offerings. So instead of just an app, thinking about actually a structured approach so that the customer gets more richness in the singular experience rather than having to have multiple things that they download and play with. So we introduced a Winning Ideas program, which started in Auckland, then rolled out across the group, and then joined up the group. Bringing in ideas champions, literally had napkins in the cafeterias with write your idea down and post it. In the first 6 months, 500 ideas, of which 10% were implemented. And the efficiencies and the win off the back of that is quite significant in itself. And it's gathering momentum. It's now across all of the properties. And what's really nice to see is that, Adelaide staff are actually solving themes for Auckland. And there's this conversation happening across the business. We set both hard themes, like we want to understand how to solve this problem, but also free for all. I've been thinking about the business and I've got an idea. So those are whole things together. So how did we do? Well, I got an auditor in and said, audit me, tell me how I'm going against best practice. And so yes, we got a pretty good mark in terms of focusing on meeting customer needs, collaborating and responding to changing business needs. We were too slow to start, too slow to validate, too slow to resource, and too slow to finish. 2 years is too long in this business. You have to get there much, much faster. So this was the revised process. And what you'll see is that there's a change in terms of ownership and funding, depending on what it was. Originally, I was responsible for the whole thing. But actually, when we revised it on the basis of the audit, you could see that innovation was around curation, not ownership, but also around the ideation and the prototyping, and that the business was involved in the rest. And I think that's really, really important because then it can sit inside the business KPIs and you can resource for it as well. So if we want to create a jump shift, we need a new mindset. We're just too slow. We're too encumbered by our comfort zones and the way we've always done things. So it starts with a culture of learning, and that takes executive level commitment. You cannot have your managers in the business not thinking differently because they will force that culture, and culture starts from the top, right? So you've got to set that scene. Core business and new ideas need to be aligned. You need to be aligned by purpose, working together with shared accountability, understanding each other is really important, and providing incentives, because if we're incented on delivering a project versus incented on an outcome, you're going to operate very, very differently. So I would say change the way you incentivise your staff. Everyone can innovate. I was with a recruiter a wee while ago and they said, oh, you're not an innovator. I said, why not? And said, oh, because you're not a young male with ripped jeans. And I fundamentally believe that every single person started out as a 10-year-old dreaming and thinking and imagining, and that has not gone away. We have just learnt by rote, and we have to unlearn. So bring people together and support that emotional and cultural intelligence to grow. Find the champions within, put them in charge, help them, challenge them to manage themselves. You know, they're waiting for people to tell you what to do. Hold open pitch sessions for staff. You know, every Friday night, get a microphone and let people come and talk about an idea they've got. Great opportunity for young leaders to come through. Amazing opportunity to share, and also puts people in a vulnerable state, which is part of culture change as well. I'm part of the New Zealand Tech Leaders Exec, and we introduced some digital principles which we're challenging businesses in New Zealand to adopt. It's on the New Zealand Tech Leaders site, but it's some very simple things that we can all do. You know, be purposeful, seek to improve, actively collaborate, focus on value, be people-centric, and commit to lifelong learning. And if we can all adopt those principles, I think we'll put ourselves into a really good space.